Good morning, good morning. And we are back. Happy President's Day, everyone. It's really nice to see you all. And I'm so pleased to be back on the live stream with so many of you. I appreciate all of the questions that we got in advance. Those who have tuned in asked where we are. We are doing this among many other things, but I'm really pleased to have both Emily Simoness on today with Plus One from America, as well as Effie Phillips-Staley, one of our favorite guests. And I know we get so many comments and letters of appreciation after we have Effie on. There's nothing more important in this race than to make sure everyone has the opportunity to share what they bring as a candidate as we look to pick our next representative. For those I haven't met, hi, I'm Kevin, husband, father of three. I live in Bedford, New York. I was born and raised in New York. I'm a lifelong Democrat, healthcare policy expert. That's my day job. The other things that I'm doing most of the other hours, and I'm a good government advocate. I also, at this time of year, I realized it has actually been a year since I started posting on social media and attended my first rally ever, where I spoke in Mount Kisco on, I believe it was March 2nd in 2025. This is just a note that anyone at any point can get up and say, this is not okay, and I want to get more involved. And I think we'll talk to Emily in a bit, like talking about how one can get more involved in the many forms one can get more involved with. The purpose of our live streams is to engage New Yorkers living in northern Westchester, Rockland, Putnam County, Southern Dutchess County, New York 17, our collective political community in the political process, equipping our community with information about the issues impacting our families, our households, and our businesses to help us identify the best individuals to represent our interests in 2026. Our mission? Discuss the issues, create a forum to discuss issues confronting all residents of our district, creating an informed and engaged community, fostering community, reconnecting as a community around common issues of concern, ensuring our representatives are held accountable for addressing them. And finally, introducing the candidates, introducing residents to individuals seeking to represent us in government at the federal, state, and local level. This is a slight adjustment from our conversations last year. While we certainly want to continue elevating our congressional candidates, there is so much at stake in 2026. We are broadening our scope to also lift up folks who are going to be running for county supervisor, for local town boards, for school boards. Being informed about the issues at stake and making sure that we pick representatives who reflect our values of critical importance. And I look forward to being part of that conversation with you over the course of the next year. For those who do want to get to learn a little bit more about some of the candidates, I do want to call out on YouTube at Kevin for New York, we have in the field interviews, which were so much fun to film and I think are really pretty entertaining, with Kate Conley, Peter Chatsky, Effie. We had a delicious meal together and covered a lot of ground, and Beth Davidson is now online. On the Beth Davidson one, to show you how Mr. Lawler is watching, he actually released a whole press release making fun of how she made meatballs. This is how our congressman is spending his time. It was pretty darn offensive, and but I would encourage you to look at it just again as a reminder of how our congressman is actually engaging in this critical political process. I also want to note, last week we had a terrific forum with many of the candidates running for our congressional seat and the Democratic nomination. The full forum is online on YouTube at Bedford Dems. We missed Effie, but we're going to cover some ground today. I would really encourage you to check it out. We got into some of the issues as we're getting into today, and really tested some of the plans that our candidates had for fixing our very broken healthcare system. And with that, I would very much love to introduce now, to open us up for the day, and we will be talking to her on another occasion a little bit later on in the spring, Emily Simoness. Emily is the founder of Plus One for America and the lead organizer for the tremendously successful 57 Dinner Initiative across New York 17. Her work on Plus One is just the latest impactful and impossibly creative venture Emily has led, previously founding and leading Space on Ryder Farm, which provided artists with fully subsidized residences to allow them to develop. Co-founded Tie-Dye In for Biden, which raised $170,000 for Democratic candidates in 2020. She's been profiled in Forbes, New York Times, Modern Farmer, and the Wall Street Journal. I don't know many people that get that EGOT, but in 2017 was honored with the Lucille Lortel Visionary Award by the League of Professional Theater Women. Most recently, Emily has served as legendary artist David Barnes, producer and the executive director of his foundation, and she is currently working with filmmaker Sofia Coppola on her new nonprofit venture. She lives in North Salem and with her husband and daughter, and it is so nice, Emily, to see you again. How are you?
I'm good. It's like Monday morning bio. Okay.
Got to get the week started off right.
Woo! Yeah.
So Plus One. Mm-hmm. What is Plus One and where did it come from?
Plus One is an organization that I co-founded this past fall. Mm-hmm. Because, Kevin, I really feel like we find ourselves in this year, 2026, not being in touch with our community. And what I mean by that is I don't think we know our neighbors. I don't think that we know what our collective interests are. I don't think that we live in a time or a place that really gives us the opportunity to be truly in community. Mm-hmm. And, I think the phones are against us. Mm-hmm. I think in NY17, the suburban geography is against us, right? You got to drive everywhere.
Yep.
And
we also have a river splitting our district too.
We have a river. You have to kayak.
Yeah.
And I think, God, there's another part of my spiel that I'm forgetting. Phones. Effie's gonna laugh because I had the same trip last time. And anyway, I'll come back to it. But and for my money, mm-hmm. this level of community organizing belies all of the specific, niche organizing that lays on top of it, right? Mm-hmm. So without this foundation of community, organizations that are working on immigrant rights or healthcare mm-hmm. or affordability, we need this lattice work below all of that that's binding us together. And I'm really motivated by it. And mm-hmm. I think it's really important. And so I started this organization whose mission is really that. Mm-hmm. Bring people together through in-person, mm-hmm. as much as I'm happy to be on the
Zoom.
Zoom in-person gatherings. And while everyone is invited to the party, I'm particularly interested, Kevin, in our generation. I'm making mm-hmm. a guess that we're the same generation. Mm-hmm. So a statistic that I'm particularly interested in is that 31% of eligible voters in NY17 are millennials and younger, which is always surprising to people. They're like, really?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. And we have a problem because we don't know each other. And if we don't mm-hmm. know each other, how could we possibly be voting for our collective interests? So that's my very long-winded way of saying that's why I came up with it. I was actually in Toronto for 6 months last year. My husband was working on a show. He's an actor. And I was watching everything happen from our neighbor to the north.
Yeah.
And I just sort of, I had a lot of time to think about what role I might be able to play and mm-hmm. what I saw as missing potentially mm-hmm. from the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. And here we are.
Nice.
I'm going to remember that third thing, though. I'm going to remember it, or Effie's going to remind me. Anyway, keep going.
So we have talking of bringing people together.
Yes.
500 people. You organize. How many dinners did you organize? And did this idea come up and you were like, this is crazy, but we need to do it anyway?
I said to my friends, and I said to my husband, I'm always the last one to know how insane an idea is that I have. I'm always like, this is a great idea. And then 4 weeks into the idea, I'm like, this is nuts. And everybody's like, yeah, dude, we told you, we looked at you in October and we were like, yeah, Emily, go for it.
So the 57 dinners.
Yes. It was late October, and I was thinking about how dark and cold the winters are here.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this visual of all of the towns and villages in the district having a dinner at the same time on the same night, and there being like a constellation, and that being sort of the beginning of this idea,
like a winter Thanksgiving.
Yeah, exactly. Only with people you don't know, or like barely know.
Yeah.
And so I recruited people hard. There's a lot of people who were like, "You want me to do what?" And I was like, "Listen, this is going to be great. You're going to invite, strangers over to your house." Anyway, how did I do it? It was hard. But what was interesting about it is halfway through my recruiting of hosts, which is probably what I spent most of my time doing, right? Recruiting people to actually be human beings in their homes.
Yep.
I started getting inquiries about, "Hey, could I be a guest? I can't host. I can't host for all these reasons, right?" But I know the third thing. I'll come back to in a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna write it down. I can't be a host, but I'd love to sit down with people who share my same set of values, and I would love to meet people that I live by, because I don't feel like I know those people. So by the end, Kevin, we had like 60 people who had asked to be guests.
That's amazing.
Which was really interesting and really surprising. And so that part of it was easy. Like initially my thinking was that hosts would make their own list of who they wanted to come over, and I always said, like, not your nearest and dearest.
This is about building.
As easy as it would be to have the people who've been over to your house 10 times already in 2025, I want you to think about the people who are maybe one step removed or another step removed. But it ended up that a lot of the hosts didn't even have to do that, because I was like, "Hey, Jen, I've got 7 people in Katona that want to come to dinner." And she was like, "Okay." So,
and that just goes to your point. Like, people are actively hungry for a sense of community. And they're like, this provided a path to connect.
And, it's not, community is in first position. Politics are in second. Politics are super important. It's why we're gathering. Everything is political, right? But like at the core of this is this idea of like, who do we live amongst? What do we collectively care about? What is our collective power? Because we have a lot of power. And I think it can feel very much, when you look at what's happening at the federal level, like we don't, right? Anyway, just because I remembered my third
point.
Then for
you can't leave us hanging.
The pandemic. I really don't think that we ever got back to gathering shape, right? Like, it's like going to the gym. Like, we didn't go to the gym for like 3 years in terms of being with people. And it's hard. It's like not like it used to be, right? We don't have the same muscle memory around it. And so anyway, but I'll stop.
I want to hear a little bit more about briefly how it went, and then what's next for Plus One. But I do want to just kind of pause on the pandemic point, because I very much believe when people individually or collectively go through trauma, it tends to either bring folks closer together or pushes them further apart, at least in my experience in life. And I do feel like the pandemic really kind of pushed us further apart. I don't know if I think that the bonds of community were weakened before that, but I do feel like there's a need to kind of bring people together from.
I agree. And I've thought a lot about the why of that. Like, why didn't it? And we had a president at the time that was saying that what was happening wasn't happening. And so we collectively weren't able to metabolize what was happening. Right. And I think it's never really been dealt with.
Yeah. I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think
we did the traditional America thing, and they fixed it. We're moving on. We're like,
and sorry, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you for sure.
So it seems as though I had to embarrass you. It seemed as though it went really
Monday
well.
Morning, it went great. I was I was thrilled. It was incredibly nerve-wracking, right? Like, again, I'm the last one to know I'm nervous. And then Thursday, I'm like, I can't eat. I haven't eaten in like 2 days. I'm so nervous. And what was interesting here is like I had delegated the responsibility, right? Like I wasn't at those dinners. Like I was at one of the dinners. And for the rest of them, I was like, hope it goes well. I mean, we gave people
you did a lot of coordination, orchestration for everything.
We did little icebreaker cards for people to have at their dinner tables to ask them, like, what? Let me see.
Who are you?
What's one thing in your community you're looking forward to this year? What is your favorite building, park, house in your community, and why? So you know, we gave people things. But anyway, no, people.
What's next?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking. And again, people were surprised. I didn't plan the next one because I wanted to get the feedback, right? Like, I'm like, I think this is going to be great, and it was. People were like, "This is the best." Like being together was amazing. We're going to do another one. I had a bunch of surveys that I circulated to the hosts and guests that I'm just starting to call. Certainly going to do one in the spring, maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't know. We're also doing, this is like not 57 dinners, but it is a part of this like bigger community thing. We're doing a letter writing campaign to folks in Minneapolis, thanking them for their defense of democracy that we're sending to Minneapolis. So like through this, we're going to be doing other community stuff, but yes, we're going to do another dinner. We're probably going to do 2 more, 3 more, 4 more. I hope next time we have like 79 hosts.
Oh my gosh. Well, you put that on the record now.
But yeah, I'm in the midst of like, you know, I really believe that we're going to build this together. And the only way to do that is to like actually listen to what people are saying about what they want and need. So I want to be thoughtful.
Well, thank you for doing it. And if you're watching, I wish Emily a belated happy birthday in the chat. Yes. Her birthday was on Friday.
Wow.
And she was spending her birthday writing letters to Michiganders. To Minneapolis. Yeah. So thank you for all that you do. And we have Effie coming up next. Do you, Amy Poehler style, do you have a question that you might want me to ask Effie? It could be anything in the world. Doesn't have to answer it.
Okay, so if Effie polled 100 people from her life that know her, past, present,
we're both writing this down.
What are the 3 top adjectives they would use to describe her? What are the adjectives that would pop up the most?
I use that as a job interview question.
Me too.
Which is appropriate, right?
Totally. What do people think of you? How do they define you? So yeah, that's what I would ask her.
Emily, well, I look forward to asking you that question before too long.
Cool.
And so thank you so much for coming on and for all that you're doing with Plus One.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk soon.
Have a good day.
So, the indomitable Emily Simoness. So we'll hear more from her as part of our spoiler alert and part of our upcoming spring series, Local Leaders and Rising Stars. But now I know that many are tuning in to hear from our congressional candidate, Effie Guadalupe Phillips-Staley, who is a nonprofit executive with a decades-long work history in education, culture, and social justice. She's currently serving her 2nd term as trustee in the Village of Tarrytown, where she prioritizes creating safe, walkable streets, building more affordable housing, boosting climate change resilience, and supporting local businesses. She grew up in a middle-class family in Sacramento, California. Her mother immigrated to the United States from El Salvador. Her father was a war veteran who served in the United States Army in World War II and the Air Force during the Korean War. She's a community activist and a tremendous inspiration to all who know her. She has been on the front lines of debates in our district before running for Congress, and I would bet that she would be on the front lines even if she wasn't running for Congress on issues of women's rights, on issues of immigration, on issues of healthcare. And she was missed last week, but now she is found. So Hi, Effie. Oh, I have you on mute. Hold on. You have to unmute your mic.
I have me on mute. I'm sorry.
Okay. No worries.
Thank you for the kind intro. And I'm so sorry that I missed last week. There was we had planned some travel, which I'm sure some of the viewers know about. We went to on a fact-finding mission to the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and we scheduled it for the day after the forum, and then the day changed. So there was nothing I could do about it. But thank you for having me here today. It's always a joy to talk to you, Kevin. You do amazing things.
Thank you. And like, I actually, if it's okay, could we kind of linger on the point about where you were for a minute, and then point people to your Instagram, where I know you've been posting these really compelling, interesting, insightful videos.
Yes, it was, dialing back, and I know we've spoken about this before, Kevin, but there are so many issues of critical importance in the district around affordability, around the way our democracy appears to be spiraling. But just as important to many, many people I speak to on a daily basis is the situation in Israel and Palestine, and the situation in Gaza. It's very heated. It's very emotional. I, as a candidate, and I'm sure all the other candidates are asked lots of very difficult questions from all ends of the spectrum, from people who linger maybe on the far right to people who linger maybe on the far left, and everything in between. So it became very important to me to understand the situation in a way that isn't second person, that was sort of grounded in being close to what is happening, and put together a small delegation, which was really important. People from the faith community, people from Jewish organizations. In fact, the majority of people on the delegation represented Jewish organizations. And we went on like I said, a fact-finding mission led by an organization called Extend. And Extend creates tours of Israel, of the political situation in Israel, as an extension to the birthright tours, to give additional perspective, and specifically perspective of the Palestinian experience. And so I'm going to be honest and be very plain. The types of human rights violations that we observed in the West Bank, the tiered, structured range of citizenship to sort of permits for, I mean, Israelis and Palestinians live in two very different worlds, and these worlds are not equal. And so I would encourage everyone to go to my Instagram to look at the first person accounts of the kind of oppression that is happening in real time in this moment, particularly around settler violence in the West Bank. If we want peaceful coexistence, we have to be very critical of the current Israeli government's policies around the settlements, but also around the very separate systems that Palestinians and Israelis are kept in. I would say around law enforcement in particular. So, I mean, I can go on forever, and the whole talk could be about that.
I know.
But
I would encourage everyone to follow you on Instagram. The videos are very insightful and on the ground.
I do want to say one more thing that I think is really important, that the people who led us on these tours of Hebron, of Ramallah, of farms that are currently and farmers that are being, frankly, are being terrorized by settlers with impunity in a kind of lawless way. We were led by Israelis who are former IDF, and these people have dedicated, they're peace activists, they're nonviolent activists, and they have dedicated their lives to trying to find justice and peaceful coexistence in Israel-Palestine. And doing so comes at great risk. We were at one point had eggs thrown at us by settlers while IDF soldiers were standing next to them. So I admire these Israelis who care very much about human rights and really put themselves on the line to expose violations and to try to find a peaceful solution.
Wise words. That's only one thing that you've been up to over the past 2 months. I also want to note that over the past 2 months, you were in Rolling Stone talking about your really harrowing circumstance that you went through. I would love to know how this motivated your run for office and what made you decide at this point to disclose this important part of your personal history and journey.
Yeah. So look, I've always had a very powerful sense of justice from the beginning. And you sort of know it from my bio, from my pro-choice work early on, from being a nonprofit executive that has always focused on social justice. And yes, I had this terrible experience. I was a patient of Dr. Robert Haddon's, and likely one of thousands of women who were sexually assaulted by this doctor and had no recourse until the state passed the Adult Survivors Act, which I would say strongly to anyone who is listening, that law sunset, we need it to be permanent, and we need it to be permanent across the nation because it gives...
I didn't realize it's sunset.
Yeah, it's sunset. And in fact, my decision it was a very hard decision to make, right? To sort of know that you had to fight powerful institutions to get a semblance of justice. And that's what that law enabled. That law enabled, thousands and thousands of victims to fight the people and the institutions that really sort of denied us our safety and our justice. And I decided to do it because I guess, I had an opportunity to fight and I needed to fight. And, one of the things that made it a hard decision is that because this occurred on the occasion of my daughter's birth, a part of me didn't want that to be part of her narrative. But I gave it a lot of thought and I thought, what would she want to see from me? Right? A suppression of something, which frankly, I actually wasn't even capable of doing. Or would you want to see her mother fight, for justice? And fighting for justice is what I've always done. And so that's what I did. But I wasn't, so yes, that was a massive motivator because when you look at people in power now, look at the Epstein situation. This is what we're up against. And we need people who aren't afraid to stare this stuff down and to fight it. So when I had the opportunity to run, you've heard my story. I was asked by Hispanic activists, to really represent the community. But a big part of that was also like a convicted sex offender is the president. It doesn't get to be this way. Like they don't get to protect themselves like this without a fight. And so that was always a motivator for me to run as well. But I will say this, I did not really initially intend to tell this story. It was my motivator. It enabled me to put seed money in the campaign, but I didn't really initially want it to be something that was public. I changed my mind when I started getting attacks from a proxy of another campaign about wealth, right? Which is something I never had, and it's not like insane wealth now. I don't mean this in a bad way, but I'm not like Chatsky. I don't have Chatsky's money, right? But when those hits started coming that called into question sort of my working class origins, that called into question the way, for the first time in my life, I was able to use my money to invest in some retirement for myself. I realized I had to be honest about where the money came from and how it enabled me to be able to run and why I was running. So I had to talk to lawyers about it.
Yeah.
But most important is I had to talk to my daughter about it.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't told her the full story. And it was clear that that story was gonna come out. So, and I wouldn't have done the Rolling Stone article without her consent. But I sat down and I said, you know that, I got a settlement because of a problem I had with the doctor. I'm like, what you didn't know is that it was the doctor who gave birth to you. And I explained the circumstances. And then I said, Rolling Stone wants to talk to me about it, but I won't do it if you feel that this is putting your privacy out there. And she's like, are you kidding? She's like, go get him. She's like, come on. She's like, of course you have to talk about that. You can't let those people get away with that. And I was so proud of her. And I was so relieved that what she saw was the importance of the fight for justice and not this idea of victimhood. She's like, what they did was wrong. And we need, she said something amazing. She said something like, she's like, we got to crush the patriarchy or something like that. And I was like, you are my child. It was fantastic. I was just like, I have a strong kid. Like, okay, we're good. And so then we went out with the story.
You did good, Effie.
Thanks.
And fighting for justice has been a theme of your life, and also from our previous conversations, your family's life. And it seems like the torch is going to be passed generation to generation. One of the biggest social justice issues I purport is healthcare and access to affordable, quality healthcare for all Americans. We've spoken about this previously. Over the course of the past year, how has your view of our healthcare system and the policies that we need, the systems that we need, changed? And where are you now? Where would you want to bring us?
I will talk about how I have changed first, right? Because when I entered this race, I would describe myself as a person who felt it was really important to, and I still am to a degree, but like to work within existing systems. So like, how do we build off of the current health system that we have to transition it into something that's better, right? But I've come to realize that our healthcare system, so to be clear, so I started with Medicare as a public option, because that seemed to me to be, it's like a pragmatic way to sort of move in the right direction.
It came up in the forum. Several candidates hold that position.
Yeah. And as I speak to people, as I speak to experts, as I speak to research, but most importantly, as to sort of take the pulse of the electorate, it is time for significant change where people and their needs are put first instead of the profits of the companies that are put first in this moment. So I changed from a person who now thinks that the way to advance Medicare for all, like a single payer system, is to really dive into it with intentionality and go into it instead of trying to slowly sort of transition our way from one thing to another, because that assumes that everyone agrees it's going to work together on that. And I think that there will actually be significant obstacles to both. And I say that having lived in the UK for 4 years, where I know how well a system like that can work. Is it perfect? No. But could I get doctors faster than I can now with our existing system? Yes. Could I get...
Yeah, so like to unpack that a little bit for folks who are watching, what is the type of healthcare system that you would envision us having, fighting for us for? And then I want to ask a little bit about how we get there.
Right, right. So I envision a Medicare for all, single payer system where, Medicare at this point is for certain ages. I think it should be available to everyone. That is what I think. And I believe.
So everyone, children, adults, working, not working, women, like everyone has access to Medicare.
That
It's
is our
not a
North
single
Star.
payer.
That is where we need to train our eyes on and get to. And I believe that likely when you look at New York State, and surely you know this deeply, but we have the votes to be able to pass a Medicare for all within New York State, but there is still so much political resistance. But I believe that, as Canada did many decades ago, that we should enable the states to take on these systems. And Ro Khanna has a bill that I would absolutely support in this, that enables states to more easily transition to Medicare for all. That we push that at the state level while we try to advance the Bernie Sanders Medicare for All bill at the federal level. This, to me, it would take away one of the most burdensome, expensive, sort of problematic issues that families face on a daily basis, and enable everyone to live better lives, and of course enable businesses to not have to carry the burden of the very high cost of insurance as well.
So building on that, I mean, I think of our healthcare system as starting in 1965, we built a little house, and people who are like low income or poor and are older folks lived in this house. And then since then, we've been through our our employer-sponsored insurance system, and otherwise we've been kind of building expansions on this house. And each of these expansions has their own pipes, and it's highly inefficient, and it looks really ugly. But when we're thinking about reforming the system, the challenge always is, like, how do you build a new house without abandoning everyone who's kind of in that house right now? I mean, like, you can't just knock it down. How would you get from where we are to a Medicare for all?
I think the most important thing is to bring together sort of a commission of experts that does not necessarily involve the for-profit interests, but involves doctors, involves people in the field, and involves civil society. I think in many ways, civil society has been sidelined in a lot of these negotiations. It tends to sit with government. It tends to sit with government and corporations. But if we elevate civil society in terms of framing the needs and then scaffold it in terms of, the economics, the transitions, all of this, if we restructure how we develop our priorities, that's how we get to it, because we don't want a system where we just knock it down, without any regard for suffering, right? The objective is to make sure that people are taken care of, but we do have to allow ourselves to think about that kind of significant change, because otherwise we continue to build on a house that is barely holding together and is very ugly. And what that means, apart from the optics, is that people suffer, right?
It does. And just to kind of like wrestle through it a little bit, would you still see there being strong incentives in a market like that, in a system like that, to support the type of medical innovation, the treatment that many people actually do fly from around the world to come to the US for? I mean, do you still see that existing and being able to coexist in a Medicare for all system?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly has to. I mean, one of the things as we know, like, our nation has been so exceptional at innovation, and we have to continue investing in that without hesitation. But again, it is about what gets prioritized for, like, what is the North Star? And I keep returning to, like, the test of, is this advancing people or is it advancing profit? If it is not advancing people at the expense of profit, then we have very real problems. And that's where we're at right now.
Really helpful just to understand like how you envision the world. And I know so many like who are tuning in today and who are going to review this on recording. I don't think that there's a person I've spoken to out there who isn't concerned about our healthcare system, its stability, and their ability to get access when they need it.
It is staggering to be a nation of such innovation, such capacity, and such limited access. I mean, this does not have to be. And
it is a failure.
It does not have to be. It requires the political will. And again, I've been thinking a lot about the role of civil society in so many things right now, but it really requires the elevation of the advocacy groups, the people, the nonprofits, who are all out there in the trenches trying to find ways to take care of people in systems that don't really do a good job. So if we learn and elevate these voices and turn that into policy, imagine what kind of a nation we could be.
And speaking of fighting for individuals whose rights have been taken away, how would you, if you were a member of Congress, protect and support women's health, women's privacy, bodily autonomy as a member?
It's so enraging I think of myself as a 19-year-old in front of abortion clinics trying to, and I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. This is how I'm always up for fights. I'm like 5'2" and 100 pounds. Like, who am I going to tackle? Nobody. But I was still there. Because I couldn't stand the thought that women were trying to get to clinics and were being obstructed by all these terrible people. It was so cruel. And I can't believe that and I know every candidate says this, every human with a conscience thinks this, that my daughter has it worse off than I did, right? Like, despite all that time fighting on the front line. But
yeah,
so yes, this is something I take very, very, very seriously. So like the Women's Health Protection Act is federal legislation.
What is that?
The Women's Health Protection Act. It's federal legislation, and it's basically meant to codify Roe versus Wade into federal law. We just have to do that. We can't allow people's health to be a political football in the state politics. Like we just need to get that done. And then of course we really need to think about privacy. My daughter and so many people will track their periods on an app. And to think that somebody who is tracking women's fertility might have access to that data and how that data could be used potentially in prosecutions if somebody has an abortion in a state where it is not legal, that is that's like an Orwellian nightmare. And so we have to, not only do we have to enshrine the right to an abortion and good women's health care in federal law, we have to make sure that we protect our data from people who try to harm us for having our bodily autonomy. And that's what it boils down to. I mean, there are some people in this world who don't want women to have bodily autonomy, that is their motivation, and we can't allow them to have the tools to succeed in taking that from us.
And so you're putting forward very strong positions and platforms. I'm hearing this your suburban progressive agenda again and again. And if those who haven't been familiar with it, you can go to Effie's website and see more detail. I do want to talk a little bit about the state of the race.
Sure.
We've been talking together for the past, 8 months. Effie, I've had the pleasure of getting to talk to you, and now the race is in full swing.
Yes.
And I don't think anyone wants to have a beauty contest of a primary for a boxing match of a general. I think that there's a natural like need for differentiation and distinction, and I think it's expected that there's going to be a little bit of a tussle, and the tussling has, I would say, has started. Politico last week came out with an article that both profiled some high-level poll numbers that spoke about how many of the candidates, including yourself, have made forceful distinctions and sometimes been a little bit disgruntled with some of that, how those distinctions are made. How do you see the field unfolding right now and your position in it?
Well, I mean, for a long time, people have struggled to, I suppose, make distinctions between us, but I think it's becoming very clear. I mean, I think the primary distinction is sort of between establishment Democrats who sort of stay within the boundaries of sort of the Jeffrey Schumer frame of the party, and then those of us who really push on those boundaries. And I think that the ICE rhetoric is a really important distinction. And that was really the first time I made a video to really talk about a difference, say, between myself and Kate Connolly. And to be clear, these are positions, we're talking about positions that we say about ourselves publicly. This isn't some kind of gotcha or this or that. You know, I believe very firmly in abolishing ICE, very firmly. I do not believe that ICE as an agency that was developed, or even the Department of Homeland Security, while developed for very important reasons after 9/11, very important reasons, they were developed in response to the war on terror. Do we want a militarized frame for these institutions? And ICE in particular, because ICE, when my mom came to the United States, she came through the Department of Immigration and Naturalization. That was the job, you know, of that department. It was to enable people to immigrate if they qualified and to be naturalized, versus customs, border and customs enforcement, right? So these are two very different things that were put together. And so what that allows is a candidate to say something like, ICE is important because we have to stop drug trafficking at the border. And when we say that, I mean, that's what ICE does, but then we end up conflating drug trafficking at the border with immigration. And that's sort of the militarized lens that has enabled ICE to devolve into what it is today. And so I believe those two parts of this department need to be separated again. I think that's critical. We abolish ICE, we bring back the Department of Immigration and Naturalization, we put customs enforcement where it should be, you know, with the Department of Justice, right? So these are distinctions that we're able to start making about ourselves, and frankly, I'm glad for the opportunity to do it, because the voters need to really, I mean, the voters need to know, to know what I represent, so they can decide to say, oh, she's the one, she's, you know, or oh no.
We have 18 weeks until the primary. This is game time. 18.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was going to bring up that statistic later, but it's like, I know it's going to raise pressures on everyone watching.
No, but it's okay, because it's that's what it is. That's good.
So for Emily's question, and then I have a hard question about like the path ahead. Emily mentioned if we were to poll 100 people in your circle and ask them about like 3 adjectives to describe you, to distinguish you, Effie, like what would those 3 adjectives be?
That's so funny. I heard her ask that. And when I told people I was running for Congress, people I've known my whole life in many parts of the world, their answer was, of course you are. You know, like that they're like, you've been ready for this for a while. These are the people who know me the best. I would say what my friends would say about me is that I have a soft voice, but I carry a big stick.
Very Rooseveltian, Teddy Roosevelt.
Very Roosevelt, but not in the way that he, in terms of, but that is, I've never backed down from a fight. And it's because I'm, again, driven by this sense of what is fair and what is just. And I just don't think twice about running towards it if I feel like it's not. It's just, this has been sort of the center of my life. So I think people would describe me as a fighter, but also very compassionate. I mean, because I think my instinct to fight comes from this deep care of wanting to see people live well, and also knowing what it's like. Like, I have lived a good part of my life paycheck to paycheck. I know the deep stress of that. And when we see a political system that is rigged in a way that people are living hand, to mouth in the richest country in the world, this cannot be, So I suppose that's how that's how my friends know me.
That works. And as long as I've known you over the past year, you're an inspiration and a fighter. And the fight is on. And I very much hope, regardless of what happens in the primary, that I continue to get to learn from you, and we can continue to stay in touch. But that said, it's a tough road ahead, right? And I do want to lay it out. I mean, like that poll, which was commissioned by another candidate, did have like Kate and Beth in like the 17 percentage point area, and then it had Peter in double digits. It had you at 5, and it had others well below. The Westchester County Democratic Committee has recently polled legislative district leaders to see who has enough support on the county level down to the locals, support for petitioning. The Hispanic Democrats of Westchester, I think they've declined to make an endorsement this year because no single candidate got a threshold. At the end of 2025, we had $29,000 cash on hand, sizable debt in the campaign. You are an inspiration in the policies and the values you put forward. What do you see over the course of the next 18 weeks as your pathway? And why should people still seriously consider you as a viable candidate?
Sure. So about the poll, well, first of all, I'll say this: my mission has not changed. Like, my mission is exactly the same as it has always been, and it has been defeating Mike Lawler, but defeating Mike Lawler with the broadest base of low propensity voters possible, a base that no other candidate is going for.
Yep.
As long as that base is there and we are working on it, then this is the mission of the campaign, and I am continuing. The poll, my team saw that poll and they were thrilled because what they saw with that poll is that 41% is undecided.
Yeah.
And that means that the race is wide open. Also, I am the only candidate who hasn't spent a dime in marketing myself and came up at 5% through earned media, through social media. And I want to point out that when Mom Donnie was at this point in this race, he was less than 1%. So the poll is not an indicator of, and frankly, the poll turned out, I was going to still be in it at less than 1%, because we see how that works for other candidates who are organizing people, not just sending mailers, right? So in my mind, that was a very encouraging situation. Our fundraising continues to grow. And as long as we have the money to keep going and to keep delivering the message from this platform, we're going to keep going, and we're going to keep delivering the message from the platform. I mean, because that's as important also as winning. And in terms, like, as you know, I have an endorsement from Latino Victory, like the national, and I'm on the executive committee of Hispanic Democrats of Westchester as well. It was a crowded endorsement meeting, and I lost it by less than a percentage, because you have to have 67% of the vote, and I had like 66.4.
Oh.
So, you know, by the bylaws,
yeah,
you know, it's not official, but I know who my base of support is, and that to me, I mean, the Hispanic community is diverse, it's pluralistic, and frankly, it was really good. It was really good that Beth and Kate turned up, because every candidate should have turned up, because this is not a community that you can write off because you think one person already has it, right? So, I mean, like,
you're inspiring everyone to fight and everyone to be better, as you have since day one in this race.
This is what we're supposed to be doing. So, you know, I am not, again, I know what my goal is. It's, and I am not put off. We have well over 100 volunteers that have signed up to petition, and it's growing every day. So I have no doubt that we're going to be able to get on the ballot, and we're going to keep fighting
going.
the good fight.
Well, Effie, I always appreciate getting to talk to you, and thank you so much for taking your time out of your President's Day morning.
Oh yes, yeah, you enjoy.
to come and join us and have this important conversation about the campaign, about healthcare, and about what we all need to do in order to get us back on the right track as a country.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So much. Talk soon.
All right, take care.
So, everyone, as always, Effie Phillips-Staley, who is, again, an inspiration, all of us, and I think we sometimes forget it, every person who decides to put themselves forward to run for office is doing so at great expense to their lives. It is not, I am sure some will say, everyone will say, it is wonderful to meet people. But on a human level, it is incredibly taxing. And I so appreciate and respect everyone who puts themselves forward. And we are in the final stretch. The Democratic primary is on June 23rd, 2026. It's about 18 weeks away, which is not that much when you think about everything that needs to be done in a week. Early voting will start on June 13th. This is the start of our new year. There is much that we need to cover. The last note I will leave you with, if you are interested in seeing someone in your local community who you feel is a local leader, an inspiration to you, a rising star, I'd love to hear about it. Please email me at kevinfornewyork@gmail.com. This spring, we're going to be doing a series highlighting local leaders from Rockland County, Westchester County, Putnam County, and Southern Dutchess County, to really highlight all of the work, good work that's being done for you, for us, by our friends and neighbors. Until then, it's great to talk to you. Have a great Monday, everybody.